The door would be closed in 2.7 seconds on her nose, and she would be going to the hospital because she would have a broken nose after that. I'm sorry, what kind of sex are you having? What kind of sex are you having that you can smell it from the other room? Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Storytime Society. I'm your host Jamie, and I'm so happy you're here. I'm so glad you're alive. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. The theme of this episode is one that we haven't done in a while: mother-in-law, monster-in-law stories. Excited about this one. Let's get into it. The title of the first story is, Am I the Asshole for Sticking to My Guns After My Mother-in-Law of 30 plus years told me I wasn't in the family? My husband, 55 male, and myself, 54 female, have been married for 32 years and together since I was 19 years old. My husband, Tom, is an amazing man, but an extreme introvert. So I have been the social planner, greeting card sender, and gift purchaser for both of our sides of the family. I couldn't even count the thousands of hours of calls, handmade gifts, and holiday meals I have contributed over the years. I have never had any major problems with my in-laws, but they have never been supportive, even when I was taking care of my terminally ill mother and 2 small children. And then working my way through nursing school. No offers of babysitting or meals, even though they only live 30 minutes from us. We even took money from our HELOC to keep them from losing their house due to their financial mismanagement. I share this background to show why I was so surprised to find out my mother-in-law did not consider me in the family in spite of 30 years of participation and contribution. Tom's uncle, Ned, died of COVID in 2022. His wife, Claire, my mother-in-law's sister, was devastated and decided that she couldn't deal with a lot of people at his interment. She only wanted Tom, his sister, her own daughter, and husband, and my mother-in-law and father-in-law to attend, not due to COVID rules, just her preference. No problem. My problem came when mother-in-law explained that it was nothing personal that I'm not invited. It's just because she only wants family there, and since I'm not family, of course, I can't come. I chalked it up to poor wording, but for the next 4 to 5 phone conversations, she kept saying nothing personal, it's just for family, multiple times each conversation. She kept talking about the lovely luncheon they were doing after the event that I was excluded from, which would be so nice for the family to catch up, etc. Tom did tell my mother-in-law to not refer to gatherings where I'm not invited as for family only, but mother-in-law talked over him like she always does and never registered how insulting it was. How am I not family after 30 plus years, 2 kids, and decades of effort? She wasn't mad or being vindictive. She was just calmly stating facts. She was acting like Tom is 20 years old and I'm the flavor of the month and not his partner of 3 decades, who literally saved his life and nursed him through a stroke, again, without help, and all the aftermath. I was crushed. Inclusion is really important to me, and whenever I host a holiday, I make sure that friends and coworkers have a place to spend holidays and invite them to spend it at my house if they don't have other plans. Shutting someone out is literally one of the worst things you can do to a human. My solution: if my mother-in-law is going to treat me as my husband's plus one, I'm going to start acting like it. I told Tom that all the cards, gifts, and communication with his family are here forward his job, and I will manage the same with my side of the family. I made him a list of all the birthdays, anniversaries, etc. that he needs to pay attention to, and told him that if he wants to have us host something for his family, I will happily cook a lovely meal, but he is responsible for the invites, negotiating the menu, etc. I then sent a letter to my in-laws letting them know that Tom and I redivided household duties and he will now be managing all of the above and that they can contact him and not me regarding social stuff. Tom was not thrilled that he now was responsible for a genre that is difficult for him, but I told him that we could trade duties every 30 years and my 30 years are up. LOL. We're now 3 years later, and when Tom says something about a holiday for his family, I remind him that it's his arena and whatever he wants to plan is fine with me. Lately, he's been rolling his eyes and saying, "We're still on this, you're really holding a grudge," or "You really don't want to let this go." I don't think I'm holding a grudge, but this is the most hurtful thing ever put on me, and I can't forget how they view me. I don't hate them or discourage his or my adult kids' involvement with them, but I'm not in the family. Then I'm going to invest my energy on people who do want me around. Is Tom right? Is 3 years long enough, and should I let it go, especially since they are oblivious and not going to change their view anyways? Am I the asshole? If you want extra content weekly, head over to patreon.com/storytimesociety and become a member on there for extra content. Love you. You're not the asshole, but I think that sending like a passive aggressive or message or letter or whatever is kind of silly. I think that you should just go straight to the point and get straight to the point and go to the mom and be like, hey, that's actually really messed up. I actually am family, and the fact that you don't consider me family is really messed up. And it doesn't really matter what you've done or what you've contributed. It really, your family, as soon as your husband decides to marry you and you are a part of the family, as is your husband is a part of your family. Like, that's just how it goes usually. I understand why it would bother you so much and why you would feel the need to like do passive aggressive things too, but clearly they're oblivious, like you said. So I feel like just going straight to the issue, going straight to the root cause of the problem and being like, hey, that's messed up that you say that, because I am part of the family. And the fact that you're saying that really pisses me off. I'm part of the family. Okay, period. Edit. I would like to point out that my husband does have brain damage from his stroke, so writing things down and reminding him are part of our normal life and needed for him to get through his day. He has a hard time with memory and verbal comprehension, so sometimes it takes him until after a conversation and talking with me to understand what was said. This isn't just dealing with his mom, but for TV and movie plots and other situations, he is able to drive, work part-time, exercise, play tennis, but he does need help with problem solving and memory. Edit number 2, to clarify, my husband's part-time job is executive accounting. He is not incapable of planning a birthday dinner or buying a card. The damage was to his auditory center, so if things are written or visual, he is fine. Just as long as he is not getting info via auditory means and writes things down, he understands. I would definitely want to be understood a little bit more and have someone at least taking accountability of the situation, and him talking to his mom about it, being like, hey, that's saying more than just don't refer to this, just being like, hey, don't say that anymore. She's part of the family. That's that. She's as much part of the family as you are part of the family. So I don't really know what else to say other than that, other than the fact that you need to just go straight to the problem, and your husband needs to back you on that and support you on that, and also talk to your mom about it, about how that's not right, and she shouldn't be saying that, and stop repeating it also, because clearly I don't know, does she have some kind of like vendetta against you? Because that's what it's seeming like. It's seeming like she like hates you or something, and she wants you to be miserable and like think that you're just nothing to them. Because yeah, of course, you being in the family for 30 years and doing all that stuff is a huge deal. But regardless, even if you didn't do all that stuff, that doesn't it doesn't mean you don't have to validate being in the family by doing all of that stuff. You know, you don't have to like prove yourself like, oh, I'm part of the family because I did all of this. No, you can just be part of the family. She's just obviously a shitty lady. Like, she kind of sucks. Some of the comments: has there been an apology or any change in their treatment of you? It's not holding a grudge to take people at their word and respond accordingly. OP said none. My mother-in-law doesn't think it's a problem to point out that I'm not in the family when I clearly, in her mind, don't belong in that category. I guess you have to be born into the family to count, but then the uncle by marriage who died isn't family either. This is your husband's family. He should be handling all those birthdays anyways. Thank you. How did Tom handle it before he got married? They were 19 and 20 is my guess. He's never handled anything, and now he's annoyed that he's stuck dealing with his family. OP said bingo. And then someone said, tell him you're not holding a grudge at all, that this is just the way life is now, reality, for the next 30 years at least. Came here to basically say the same thing. It's not holding a grudge. It's literally just accepting what mother-in-law clearly pointed out. It's not OP's family. Why manage it? Would be even better to just leave it all up to him and stop reminding him when, not if, mother-in-law starts crying that she never sees her dear boy. OP can just agree and say something like, I know, right? I used to manage all the social events for us, but you were absolutely right, mother-in-law. I was totally overstepping. I'm not family, so I shouldn't interfere. Not the asshole. See, I don't agree with any of that, actually. I mean, I do agree that, like, they should leave it up to him. I mean, he needs to have, like, a responsibility, and you don't really need to remind him of, like, the family's birthdays and stuff, because you're still doing so much by doing that. Like, if they don't receive a card, well, then sorry, but that's Tom's fault. Like, you can blame it on him. And I don't think that she should be passive aggressive and be like, I used to manage all the social events, but you're right, I'm not family. No, you should be like, you're a bitch, okay? And I am family. She needs it like given to her straight rather than being like, oh, you're right, I'm not family. So no, you just need to be like, once she says I never see Tom anymore, be like, well, that's probably because you told me that I'm not part of the family when clearly I am part of the family, but you thought that it was okay to say that and it wasn't. And then I told Tom that he's now responsible for planning all the get-togethers because that was what I was doing. I'm not doing that anymore because you made a rude comment and it upset me. Let them know that you're upset. There doesn't need to be like a whole little thing where you don't need to be passive aggressive. You've been in this family for 30 plus years. Say it to them straight. Give it to her straight. Let her know how you feel. The title of the next story. I found messages on my mother-in-law/boss's computer that changed my entire view of her. What do I do? I work at my husband's family business that builds custom homes. I met my mother-in-law when she came into the design firm I worked at to pick out some options for a client. She and I hit it off, and after she'd come in a few times, she set me up with her son. Fast forward 7 years, and I coordinate all the builds and consults with clients on design for the 50-plus-year-old family business. My mother-in-law is technically my boss, but we operate a lot like equals, and she's been taking some steps back. She and I have always gotten along great, and she has felt like the mother I never had growing up. So last Friday, I was packing up to go home and on the phone with my husband before he got on a flight for an annual weekend away with friends. I was distracted and accidentally grabbed my mother-in-law's computer instead of mine. I didn't realize it until I was home and wanted to look up some fixtures for a project in our own house. Once I knew, I texted her to let her know, to which she said no worries. She was unplugging this weekend anyway and to do whatever I needed on it. I was just browsing and unintentionally clicked on a linked email on a store's contact page. We use MacBooks, and as a lot of Apple users know, that will usually pop up to send an email using your default mail app. I closed the draft, and when I went to close her email app, I saw an email from a recently hired apprentice titled, Our Weekend Getaway Itinerary. I froze. I realized this was her personal email, and I couldn't help myself but to click on it. I found both explicit and romantic messages between this 22-year-old male apprentice and my married 47-year-old mother-in-law and boss. I slammed the computer shut and just went to bed, staring at the ceiling for quite a while. My husband was gone all weekend and only got home today. I had been spiraling all weekend on how to handle this. I certainly wasn't going to bring it up to my husband while he was gone, but I went to the office and had to see my mother-in-law yesterday, and I could barely keep my composure. I found every excuse to lock myself away in my office and be busy. So now my husband is back, and I'm wondering what to do. Do I tell him? How do I even do that? Do I go to his mom and confront her? Do I go to his dad and tell him? Help. Oh gosh. I think probably you should. I would talk to her about it. I'd be like, hey, what's going on? I see this weird emails and I accidentally saw it while I was using your computer doing some work and I'm a little bit concerned. What's happening here? Yikes, that is tough. Someone commented, screenshot everything. If you're tech savvy enough, screenshot on the laptop, open a private browser to email them to yourself, delete the screenshots, and delete them from the trash. Otherwise, just use your phone to take pictures. Tell your husband he's going to know something is off with you, and you'll worry sick if you don't tell him. Is there a chance your mother-in-law and father-in-law have an open relationship? Your options would be to hire a private detective or inform the mother-in-law and get them to come clean, or inform the father-in-law so he can decide on how to move forward, or do nothing. OP said there's no chance they have an open relationship. My father-in-law was cheated on in a serious relationship with someone he thought he would marry, and it crushed him. He has always preached loyalty and monogamy in relationships to my husband since he was a teen. Do you need your job? Someone said. OP said, I really don't. I came to work here because I wanted to and they needed help. I left my last role on great terms with an open invite back. And then someone said, really? You said it's been 7 years, but you're sure that you still have an open invite to return? It's been 7 years since I met my husband. I've worked at the family business for about 2.5 years, and still consult on the side with my last job. So yes, I'm sure. Are you sure it isn't your husband meeting this person? Our weekend getaway itinerary the same weekend your husband is going away? Sounds like an awfully big coincidence. OP said, this weekend for my husband is an annual trip he's done with friends for 6 years now, and he FaceTimed me drunk from a bar one night to say he missed me, so no, I'm not worried. OP clarifies on her mother-in-law's age. She was 40 when I met my husband, not when we married, and she was 18 when she had my husband. Teen pregnancy. There's an update, so let's read it. 2 days later. Update 1. I shouldn't have been surprised by the amount of people who told me to keep it to myself and that I was in the wrong for snooping. Yeah, I shouldn't have opened up the email, but I did, so here we are, and here's an update. My husband knew something was wrong after he got home. He can read me like a book. I told him I found out something I shouldn't have and told him everything. He was mortified, but as some said, he's glad I told him because keeping it from him would be worse. He knew more about the apprentice than I did. He was the son of a family friend, and she's known him since he was a teenager. Hiring him was a favor to said friend. My husband said he wanted to take him from there, which he did. He went snooping on his own. The computer is company property, and he has ownership in it as well and can log in remotely at any time. He took screenshots of emails going back with the apprentice over a year before he worked here. Then of ones with someone else that were 2 years old, and then records of a second phone and hotel reservations. With all that, he took it to his dad. I don't know how that conversation went, but I do know that they went to get him tested. To add insult to his injury, he tested positive. My father-in-law joined us for dinner instead of going home, and we talked for quite a while. He was like a heartbroken teenager. He had no idea what was happening, but years ago he had suspicious of her talking to other men, but didn't have any proof, and they dropped it after a brief fight. But now, with undeniable proof of multiple affairs, he said it's over. He also has a pretty airtight prenup that should make it pretty easy divorce on paper. The family business is on his side, and in the case of infidelity, she forfeits all ownership of the business and the house they built together. So I'm sorry to break it to you. Coming clean didn't destroy my marriage or my career. I told my husband mostly because we don't keep secrets from each other. It's a foundation of our marriage, but it's almost like reasonable adults put blame only where it's deserved on the cheater. My father-in-law is pissed and simultaneously devastated and plans to get his ducks in a row before serving her with papers. The way that I would tell my boyfriend, I'm always telling my boyfriend everything, like every single thing. If his family is like, tells me something, I'm like, I'm going to him and I'm going to be like, did you know this? And then most of the time he's like, no, because he fucking doesn't listen, first of all. And second of all, he doesn't care about the tea. So every time I tell him, he like doesn't even care. But I'm just like, yeah, I'm always going to tell him everything because I don't know. I just love to like tell. And also it's like your secret safe with me type of thing, you know, because obviously he's not going to fucking tell anyone. He's probably not even going to remember in the next 2 minutes because he doesn't think about stuff like that. Like he doesn't care about the drama. He doesn't care about the hot goss, you know? So it's nice because I have like a little keepsake for all my secrets that I need to be kept. He's so funny. I love him. But does your mother-in-law know that all of you know about the infidelity? Has the apprentice been fired? OP said no, she doesn't know, and no, he hasn't been fired. We literally just got to the point where father-in-law knows. We're letting him decide how this all plays out from here. Remotely accessed computer with screenshots to boot, STI panels that return at nano speed, prenups that cleanly and surgically cuts off the cheater. What intrigues? OP said there are rapid tests for certain STIs that come back in like 20 minutes. It's basically a COVID test as far as going to a walk-in clinic and the turnaround time. And I signed a prenup that basically cuts me off as if I cheat as well. It's pretty common for people with large businesses. Here we are again with the accusation that it's a fake story. And also, it's not that crazy the remotely accessed computer with screenshots to boot. Wait, what? I don't really get that. But I don't really know how you would access. I mean, I guess if you're accessing like the company email and she's been doing this on a company email, then yeah, if they if they have ownership, and then the STI panels, yeah, you can get them pretty quick. And like she said, most people with businesses would have that in a prenup. So I don't really understand, but okay. Commenter said, why would you have an affair so easily discoverable on work computers if the stakes were this high? If this is real, mother-in-law is either really dumb or just didn't care if she got caught and lost her livelihood. Opie said, honestly, I think how I found out could be chalked up to just not being tech savvy and not thinking she had anything to worry about because she has gotten away with this for years, as we found out. I have her computer login and she has mine. People are pressed that I had my boss's password, but she's also my mother-in-law. We've done presentations where the computer goes to sleep after we set it up and I need to log in. She sent me to go get a file off her hard drive when it's plugged in at her desk, etc. And I don't know if she even realized that her personal email was logged in on the Mail app. She usually works off Microsoft Outlook in her web browser. There's a good chance she logged into her personal email on the Mail app and didn't think about it twice or use it since. Shut up. Storytime Society is now available on all listening platforms. If you are on any of those listening platforms, I would really appreciate it if you rated me 5 stars. Thanks for all the support. Update 2, 1 month later. My father-in-law did end up confronting my mother-in-law shortly after my post. He brought the proof that my husband found, his positive STI results, a copy of their prenup, and the divorce papers. From what he told us when he came over for dinner after, he was calm and just laid out all on the table, literally. She obviously knew she was caught and just asked how he found out. He said it wasn't important and outlined what the next steps would look like. He was willing to make some concessions on their prenup if she would come clean about everything and step down quietly. I think he was so hurt by it all and he loved her so much that he just wanted this to be done and over. And he did still want to care for her. She fought for a bit but relented, so the divorce should go smoothly. She stepped down willingly from the business and moved out, but he did offer spousal support and their vacation home, which she moved into, both things that were not included in the prenup. My father-in-law has spent a lot of time at our house or going out with my husband golfing or hiking. He's heartbroken and worried that it's all going a little too smooth, that she will suddenly change her attitude, but I personally think she just knows she got caught and messed up past anything fixing it. I'm struggling to come to terms with that version of her versus the one I got to know and love. But there's nothing I can do but be there for my father-in-law and my husband. The two are really leaning on each other, which is heartwarming for me to see. She reached out to me to apologize for putting me in the position and hopes we can still have a relationship. So at some point she found out that he found out from me. I told her not right now, but I don't know what will happen in the future, but my husband is my number one priority right now. Thank you for reading. I mean, honestly, I have so much respect for him for not just completely tearing her worlds apart and turning it upside down, because that's what you want to do, and that's what I would want to do in a divorce like that if someone was cheating on me. And also, not only that, but I've been cheated on before, and that's like my biggest fear, and she knows that that's my biggest fear. Oh, yeah, sorry. I don't know if I would be able to, like, I would really have to hold myself back. I would really have to hold myself back from not ruining that person's life. It would be so hard for me to even just I mean, obviously I wouldn't want them to like end up homeless or anything. So yeah, I would want to be able to have them get something, but it'd be so hard for me to be nice even a little bit, like even 2% nice in that situation. I would just want to expose them, and I would want everyone to hate them, and I would want their lives to be ruined. Oops, sorry. Okay, some of the comments. Will your father-in-law tell it to the parents of the guy? Because he may have been groomed. Who knows how long was the affair? Oh, honestly, yeah, I forgot to talk about that part. How she knew him since he was a teenager. Weird. Why does that happen so often? It's like, why are you having sexual relations with someone that you knew since they were like a teenager? It's weird, and I am scared of you for that. Oh, he said he did not tell them, but their son did. They went to my father-in-law and are working it out on their own. There's more to it, but not that I'll share publicly. And then someone said, so your husband is just straight no contact with his mom. She's cut off. She gets what she deserves. But wow, from everything to nothing in one shot. At least she has money and a place to live. Opie said he's not totally no contact, but it is limited. Aside from being his dad's soon-to-be ex-wife, she's also his mom, and he wants to separate the two, but is struggling to do so right now, and he told her that much, which I'm really proud of him for. She knows they have an uphill battle coming. I mean, of course, she should expect him to not, like, speak to her for a while, or for the relationship not to be the same for a while, because yeah, that's like a huge thing to take in, and to feel like you don't even know who your mom is. You just obviously think so highly of your parents, and you probably look at their relationship if they're still married for the most part. Obviously some are like very obviously bad marriages, but you just like look up to their relationships and their marriages, and then to find out that she was doing this to your dad, and obviously you love and care for your dad, so that's something that's really a hard pill to swallow. Okay, someone said that lady does not deserve spousal support or a vacation home. She's taken so much already, emotionally, and completely obliterated the foundation of her family. I truly hope your husband and father-in-law are okay. This has to hurt to watch. Opie said, you're not wrong on the hurt. The credit I will give my mother-in-law, and that my father-in-law and husband do as well. She was always a great mom and worked hard to support the business and was a huge part in building the life that they have. No matter what, she is his mom, and to my father-in-law, she's the loving mother of his children, and their marriage had really happy moments. I look up to my father-in-law so much, and I think it's admirable that he took into account her whole being and her life and not just her worst moments and didn't just cut her off and rip everything away, even though nobody would blame him. Don't get me wrong, this isn't me defending her, it's me praising him. I second that, because I totally agree with that. That's kind of what I was trying to say. Someone said, what happened to that guy? Is he still working there? Opie said, he left pretty quickly and without any issue, and my husband did give him a few names of other builders who may be willing to hire him as an apprentice and said he would be a reference if he needed it. I could take a lesson in empathy from my husband and his father, because I don't know if I would do that, but they both agreed to show him some grace because he's young, and they acknowledged that he could have been groomed. They both sat down with him and did what they could to make sure he learned from this instead of having it ruin his career at this point. I think it was partially out of respect for his parents, but either way, they were both bigger people than I wanted to be. I mean, yeah, the person that you need to blame here is not this young ass 22-year-old boy. Obviously, is he old enough to know that that's wrong? Yes, but I do have to say that this woman, there's clearly a power imbalance here, like, and it's a big one. It's not only the age, but it's also the fact that she's his boss. Someone commented, there are many situations I wouldn't want to be in. That includes just working for my mother-in-law with her as my boss. So taking that and adding on, by the way, you'll find evidence she is cheating on your father-in-law on top of that. Yikes on bikes. Yeah, I don't think I would want to have to deal with that either, because that would just be such a crappy situation to be in. The title of the next story: Mother-in-law has an issue with my husband and I keeping our door closed. When my husband and I got engaged, the warning signs were there. She had an issue with the fact that my husband was rushing into this. We'd known each other for 2.5 years at that point. Dropped hints that her son could do so much better if only he'd let her take control of his life. I held my tongue for the sake of my husband's peace, but started scouring this subreddit, really hoping I wouldn't have to post. We got married Friday night and checked out of our hotel on Sunday. We fly out for our honeymoon on Wednesday, after which we'll be going to our place. We live in another city where we had both moved before we met, and that is thankfully a 3-hour flight away from here. But until Wednesday, the plan has been to stay at his parents' place. When we arrived at their place on Sunday, my mother-in-law wanted the two of us, as in me and her, to sleep in one room, while my husband and father-in-law sleep in their own rooms. This was apparently supposed to bring the two of us closer together, and anyway, you've already spent 2 days at the hotel together. For a second, I actually thought that this was a joke, and then I told my husband this was effing insane. This is not okay. My husband put up a fight. My mother-in-law asked him if I had told her to say this. I could hear them arguing in the other room. He held our ground, she relented, and had been cold all day yesterday. Yesterday, when my husband came back from meeting some friends, we went into his room 2 seconds after I closed the door behind me. There was a loud knock on the door. According to my mother-in-law, closing doors was considered exceptionally rude in polite society. The two of us should know that. I asked my husband if this had actually been a rule for him growing up. He said absolutely not. She's acting psycho. So tonight, our door has been left open. This is insane, right? Like, really, if it's not, please let me know. Maybe I'm wrong. By the time I internalized how messed up this was, it was late enough that I couldn't consider telling my husband that we need to stay at a hotel or that I'm going to my parents. They live an hour's drive away. On the other hand, according to my husband, we just have to get through Tuesday. We fly out Wednesday at noon. I'm this close to booking a hotel for Tuesday right now and telling him he can come with me, and if not, I'll see him at the airport. Oh my mother effing actual what the shit. Oh, the thing that pisses me off more than I can even explain is the way that people are so nonchalant about it. Because my reaction would be maybe enough to lock me up in an institution and take a grippy sock vacation, because I would go insane on this woman. I would literally let her have it. I would wreak havoc on her life. I would be like, first of all, girl, I'm not sleeping with your stinky ass. I'm sleeping with my husband, and that's final. No arguing is needed. No arguing is needed. Actually, it's insane that you would even waste your breath arguing with this woman and not just putting her in her place and telling her that she's a weirdo. Because I would be like, you are weird, and I will leave and get a hotel. I'm an adult. You better shut your mouth. Shut your trap. Seriously, this is pissing me off. Like, I have the chills right now thinking about this happening to me. And then second of all, her knocking saying, you closing the door is so rude in society. The door would be closed in 2.7 seconds on her nose, and she would be going to the hospital because she would have a broken nose after that. I don't care, lady. Shut up. The fact that this OP, even thinks for a second that she's in the wrong is also pissing me off, because her saying, I'm not crazy, right? Oh my God, no. Sorry. I would have an annulment immediately. If the husband actually thinks that this is normal and is just like rolling with it, I'd be like, we're not keeping our door open. For that matter, we're locking it and staying in here for the rest of the time, because you can actually kick rocks. Okay, there's an edit though, so let's read it. Edit, I brought it up with my husband. I didn't bring up going to my parents as an option. I just showed him the hotel's webpage on my laptop with all the details entered and told him I'm about to reserve this and he has to come with me because he's my husband now and I'm not going to feel safe alone. He asked me to just give him some time. After breakfast, he spoke to my mother-in-law. I could hear it from our room. He told her that we're married now and that we weren't comfortable with the open door BS, that we'd have to spend the night at a hotel if she didn't chill out. She threw a fit, told him how disappointed she was that he's taking orders from his wife already, that she had taught him to respect his elders and hadn't my mom taught me the same. It took me so much self-control for me to not step in and speak my mind, but I let him handle it. Anyway, with the threat of us moving to a hotel and her losing the last day with us before we leave, she said we can do what we want since we're apparently too insolent to be taught manners, so the door can be closed now. We're going out for lunch today, just the two of us, because I need space from her. Wednesday can't come soon enough. Wow, I want to punch her so hard. I want to punch her so hard. The door can be closed now. No. I don't think I would be having a talk with this woman. I just don't think that is even necessary, because there's no conversation that is needed to be had. It's, you're crazy and I'm going to keep doing what I want because I'm an adult. And it's not like they're damaging her house in some way. Like that I would understand if they were doing something disrespectful to her house. Okay. It's disgusting to me. It's like the boy mom shit that is so scary on TikTok, where it's like, getting ready for my son's first prom. Oh my God. Like, I have the cutest dress that I'm going to wear to my son's first prom. We're matching. I can't believe that one day I'll have to not sleep with my son in the same bed anymore, and he'll be sleeping with his new wife. Some comments. Wow, she's a bit of a monster, but I'm glad your husband is aware of it. Someone said, now you know that you can never agree to stay under her roof again because she'll use the opportunity to torture you. Hotel. Never stay at her house again. Stay in a hotel. She doesn't want her baby to have sex. Effing creepy. From someone who ignored these warning signs for way too long, I'd say stay in a hotel from now on. My mother-in-law has a weird rule that we're not allowed to have sex if we stay at her place. No idea how she's supposed to know, and it drives us all batty. We're planning a trip to their city in a few months, and for the first time, we'll be staying at a B&B. We've been married for 24 years. Regarding no idea how she would know, if the rooms are close to each other, you can usually hear a couple having sex, hear the creaking of the beds, the smell, and the sheets unless you put towels on them, but then the towels will have the evidence. I'm sorry, what kind of sex are you having? What kind of sex are you having that you can smell it from the other room? I fear that's a hygiene problem, and you might need to go to your doctor to learn how to clean your bum, because I've never smelt that from the other room. I mean, yeah, hearing creaks, okay. Smelling it, or smelling it on the sheets? What is happening? That's just another thing to be concerned about, because if you are leaving a stench when engaging in sexual activity, that's just another issue that how that got 54 upvotes is scaring me, because if people can relate to that, please wash your cooch in the shower, please, or I'm calling the police. OP, I'm sorry, but you really, really need to set a precedent here. If you start this way, she will expect it to continue. Your husband's normal meter may be broken so badly he doesn't understand how weird this actually is. A strong, united front is necessary. I know sometimes it's so hard to have empathy for someone that, which I'm not saying don't have empathy or it's normal to not have empathy, but it takes a little bit more of a need to be, I don't know, to recognize that people that are raised with this type of family might not recognize how it's not normal, because a lot of things with my boyfriend, with one of his family members, I'm not going to say, were just like normal to all of them, to all of his family members. They just all thought like, oh, that's just how it is. And I like had to say to them in multiple occasions, that's not normal. That is not normal, actually. But I did realize, obviously, after a little bit, that's just something that they're so used to, because that's how it's been for so many years since they were young. And that's just that's their normal. I just have to remember that sometimes. But obviously, now that it's been a while since like they've come to the realization, there's some things here and there that will still be like normal to them. But for the most part, they know that it's not normal. And it's just something that they have to grapple with as well, and something that they have to recognize and like truly be present with when you're deconstructing all of the things that you thought were so normal growing up. Sometimes you go back and you slip back into that being normal, and you're like, wait, but is that really not normal? I feel like that's just how it is. And it takes someone to really like let you know and to put you in reality to realize that's not normal at all, girl, please. But that is the end of that story time. The mother-in-law ones always get me so heated because it's just crazy. I'm so glad that I don't have to deal with a mother-in-law like that. Oof, thank God. And I'm so sorry if you do have to deal with a mother-in-law like that, especially because it sucks, because it's like, that's not your partner, but that just is so annoying to have to deal with. And I don't think that it's a reason to, which some people might disagree with me, I don't think that it's a reason to like not marry someone or not be with someone, other than if your husband is super, super complicit and isn't gonna take steps to realize that it's not normal. That's another scenario, because obviously that is something that needs to be addressed first and foremost, because it's not okay and it's not normal to be in that kind of situation and predicament with your mom or your parents. I'm so glad I don't have either of my parents being weird like that. I've never encountered someone so crazy. I fear I just spoke too soon, because that's not true, actually. I do know one crazy mother effer, a dad, and he is something else. Oof, it's tough to deal with. I definitely have experienced a lot of crazy stuff from not my dad, but someone else's dad, and I'm really glad that I don't have to deal with that anymore. But it's really crazy how some people just think in such a different way, and especially about like their family or their kids for that matter. This dad grew up, well, not grew up, but his kids grew up thinking family only, like very exclusive. They weren't allowed to like basically hang out with any of their friends. They weren't allowed to have friends over. They like didn't have a normal childhood like that, because they had to be like super exclusive. And does that make sense? I don't know. They weren't allowed, like it was like a club. It was like an exclusive club. Like, we are just having family night, but it was like every night was family night. No friends are allowed over. You're barely ever allowed to like go hang out with your friends, because you're not spending time with the family. And it's like, okay, you don't have to spend time with the family 24/7. Having like one family night a week, okay, that I get. Especially when you're growing up and your kids, like you want to hang out with your friends more than you want to hang out with your family. And obviously you want to instill the family values in your kid, but by making your kid feel like they can only hang out with their family 24/7, and that they're wrong for going to hang out with their friends even one day a week, that's going to push them away from their family, like way more than you think that is helping them like instill family values. Anyways, I love you guys. Let me know what you thought about those stories. And if you have any mother-in-law stories, or any stories for that matter, the Reddit is linked below. It's the Storytime Society subreddit. So you can share any of your personal stories on there, and maybe I'll read them on the podcast. But anyways, I love you guys, and I'll talk to you in the next episode. Bye. My merch is out. Yeah, but this is it. And this comes in pink, black, and white. If you want to get a little cute piece of merch, go grab one. Link is in the description to purchase. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.